Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining me. My name is Lauren James and I am the Yoga and Fitness Program Coordinator at the McFetridge Sports Center. And in today's video, this is a Transition Tuesday video. So I will be walking you through the different ways you can transition from downward facing dog to forward fold and vice versa. So I'll start in downward facing dog. And I'll walk you through a few options of how you can, again, transition from downward dog into forward fold. And we'll start with what I would say is maybe the easiest option. And for that, you will need blocks. So you don't necessarily have to have 2 blocks. They don't necessarily have to be cork. They don't have to be on this height. But 2 blocks probably on about this height is most likely going to work best for you. So from a downward facing dog. Okay. So from a downward facing dog, you've got a few options. One is to shift forward a little bit so you're almost in a bit of a plank so you can grab onto these blocks and bringing the blocks under your shoulders. So we always want the hands under the shoulders. That's always going to help out the shoulders, keeping the arms in alignment. So from here, then you can step 1 foot forward. So you're in a bit of a lunge, a runner's lunge, and then step the other foot forward. And now you're in forward fold. And then from here, you can easily roll up or come up with a flat back. And so thinking of the same option to step back, same thing. So from forward fold, you can bring your hands to the blocks, step back, and then maybe come off the blocks. That's an option. It takes a little bit of time to transition to remove the blocks, but it's an option to, again, always transition in that way. Okay, so another option to transition to forward fold, you probably don't need the blocks for this one. From downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now we always want to take this transition on the exhalation. So if it's not too much to think about, you inhale, deeply bend your knees, sort of spring load the legs, look forward. So you're looking where you want to go. So you're looking to the space between your thumbs. You inhale. Then as you exhale, you take baby steps, walking forward. Now they can be really tiny little baby steps. You might have to take a ton of them, but you eventually want to walk your feet all the way forward so they more or less come between your hands. Your knees will be very deeply bent, and in those last few steps, you'll have to transition the weight from your hands to your feet. So again, from downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, take those baby steps. Now when you start to get about halfway through, you're gonna have to shift your weight out of your hands and into your feet. And now you might have your knees very deeply bent to help you do that. That's okay. And then you're in a forward fold. And so similarly, you can take those baby steps back to downward facing dog. So from forward fold, you can lift up a little bit, spread the fingers, maybe deeply bend the knees so the palms come flat onto the ground, and then step back either with baby steps or taking large steps. Okay. So again, you can take several steps forward or back, or 1 forward and 1 back. Okay. So our last transition, the last way you could transition from downward dog to forward fold is by jumping. So for the jump, this is when you really want to use your breath to help you through this. You'll inhale as you sort of set yourself up, spring load the legs, look forward, look to where you're traveling, where you're going to go. And then at the bottom of your exhalation, jump forward. And you really want to land sort of in a forward fold. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. So from downward facing dog, deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward. At the bottom of the exhalation, jump forward, bringing the feet between the hands. Okay, so you can jump from downward facing dog into forward fold. Now, would you do the opposite? Can you do the opposite? I would not. I would not jump from forward fold into downward facing dog. One step further though, if you are adding jumping into your practice, would be to jump from forward fold to chaturanga. So oftentimes you'll see students jump back to plank, but it's generally a little easier on your joints if you jump with bent elbows. So I'm just gonna demonstrate that one time because this is a little bit of a reach. But either way, if you wanted to jump back, again, you wouldn't be jumping into downward facing dog, you'd be jumping into chaturanga. You would inhale, lift up halfway. Deeply bend the knees, plant the palms, step back and jump back into chaturanga, bent elbows, and then lower down and maybe proceed with a vinyasa. But you wouldn't jump back into downward facing dog. This really isn't a position you jump into, okay? But, so when you're thinking about jumping forward, again, I mentioned you want to land in forward fold. So here's what I often see students do, and I think they just don't realize they're doing it. They deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, kind of land in this malasana low squat. This is not really where we want to land. We want to land with the hips up and the head down. So jumping forward, again, landing sort of in that forward fold. So deeply bend the knees, inhale, look forward, exhale, spring forward, more or less with your seat up in the air. Because another transition that you could take is jumping from downward dog to forward fold into a handstand. And so that's super advanced. That's not something I practice, certainly not something I teach, but that's sort of the progression. And so if you know that the next step from that sequence is to then go into a handstand, then you know that you've got to have your seat up in the air and your head down low. So thank you for joining me. Again, my name is Lauren. I'm the Yoga and Fitness Program Coordinator at McFetridge. And those are some ways that you can transition from forward fold to down dog, back and forth with varying levels of challenge and work. So hopefully you learned something. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.